Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great. Happy Sunday. We got a lot of NFL action to cover today, so go ahead and like and subscribe. Check out all my links in the description below. And go ahead and sign up with ParlayPlay, guys. $10 for free once you guys sign up. And sign up for the free NFL tournament every Sunday. $125 in prizes. And go and check out the other over-under player prop games as well, guys. Super fun. And try to get your chances at winning extra money this weekend as we close out this week here. Yeah, a lot of action to cover. Good football Sunday here. Starting with the Atlanta Falcons versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Falcons opening up as 2-point favorites with the over-under at 46. The last 7 times they've played, Atlanta's 4-3, 6-1 covering in those matchups. The over/under in this series is 1-6. Atlanta coming off a 25-0 loss against New England. Then they had the game before a 43-3 loss against Dallas. So they've only scored 3 points in their last 2 weeks. This offense for Atlanta has been pretty bad here. They have not been playing good. Jags coming off a 30-10 loss against San Francisco. Atlanta 4-11 in their last 15. They're 5-0 covering against the Jags, 4-1 in their last 5 against the Jags here. I mean, we know how bad the Jags are, but Atlanta's just as bad. I mean, this offense is very bad. I kind of like the Jaguars more in this game here. There's a lot of ugly matchups in here. This isn't the best slate for football, but I'm probably not doing it for the value, but I'm gonna buy 1.5, get the Jags plus 3.5. That's probably the play I would run. But hard to trust either team here. I mean, Atlanta scored 3 points in 2 weeks. How confident can you be in that? Not very confident. We'll take the Jags plus 3.5. Next matchup, we have the Carolina Panthers versus the Miami Dolphins. Carolina opening up as 2.5-point favorites with the over/under at 42. The last 6 head-to-head, Miami's 4-2, 5-1 covering in those matchups. The over/under in this series is 2-4. Carolina coming off a 21-27 loss against Washington. Miami currently on a 3-game winning streak, coming off a 24-17 win over the Jets. Carolina 2-6 covering in their last 8. 1-5 covering against the Dolphins, and then just 2-4 against the Dolphins here. Miami 3-7 in their last 10. Going to be a tough test for Cam Newton and McCaffrey against this Miami D that's been playing really good the last 3 weeks on this winning streak. I mean, playing the Jets in Houston, but I mean, they shut out Baltimore, which is a running quarterback. We'll see what kind of game plan they have against another running quarterback like Cam Newton. I like the Dolphins here. Gonna buy a point, get them plus 3.5. I think this is another kind of close game here. Tough defense, should be a fun one though. We'll take the Dolphins plus 3.5 in a tight one. Next matchup, we have the New York Jets versus the Houston Texans. Texans opening up as 2.5-point favorites with the over/under at 44.5. The last 10 head-to-head, these teams have played 8 times. The Jets 5-3, 5-2-1 covering in those matchups. The over/under in this series is just 3-4-1. The Jets on a 3-game losing streak, coming off a 17-24 loss against Miami. Houston coming off a huge win over the Titans, 22-13. That was a big time win for them. Jets 0-6 covering on the road. Another ugly matchup here, but Houston's D has stepped up here lately. They've actually been playing pretty decent defense. I mean, the last 2 games, only allowing 17 points and 13 points. Pretty solid. Tyrod's back, so the offense is a little bit smoother on offense, a little bit better, more opportunities to score. Yeah, 2.5-point spread. I mean, another ugly game. I mean, this is just full of ugly games on this slate here. We're just going to take the Texans. I don't even trust 2.5. We'll take Texans on the money line here. Next matchup, we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New York Giants. Eagles opening up as 3.5-point favorites with the over/under at 45.5. The last 10 head-to-head, Philly 8-2, 3-7 covering in those matchups. The over/under in this series is 6-4. Philly 4-6 in their last 10, coming off a 40-29 win over the Saints. Giants coming off a 30-10 loss against Tampa Bay. Philly 5-2 covering in their last 7. They are 8-1 against the Giants. I mean, they've dominated New York. New York, their offense is just horrible. They'd fired their offensive coordinator. I mean, the offense just is kind of hard to watch here. Rolling with the Eagles here. Going to buy a point, get a -2.5. And yeah, we're going to roll with the Eagles. Next matchup, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals opening up as 3.5-point favorites with the over-under at 44. The last 10 head-to-head, Pitt 8-2, 5-4-1 covering in those matchups. The over-unders in this series is 4-6. Pitt coming off a 37-41 loss against the Chargers. Cincinnati coming off a 32-13 win over Las Vegas. I do see, no Joe Hayden. TJ Watt is probable, so that's good for them. Fitzpatrick is probable as well. Pittsburgh, I mean, they dominated Cincinnati, 11-2 against Cincinnati, 7-1 on the road against Cincinnati here. I think they're giving Cincinnati a little bit too many points here at 3.5. I don't love it. Steelers getting some of their better defenders back with Watt and Fitzpatrick here. Yeah, give me Steelers plus 3.5. I just see another tight one here. Could be a field goal kind of game. We'll roll with the Steelers. Next matchup, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Indianapolis Colts. Tampa Bay opening up as 3-point favorites with the over-under at 53. The last 6 head-to-head split down the middle. Both teams are 3-3. Indy's 5-0-1 covering in those matchups. Tampa Bay coming off a 30-10 win over the Giants. The Colts on a 3-game winning streak, coming off a huge win over Buffalo, 41-15. Tampa Bay, they have struggled on the road, 0-5 covering on the road, 0-5 covering against the Colts. The Colts 5-1 in their last 6. I mean, Colts are just as hot as any team in the NFL right now, playing great football. Going to be a test against this Buccaneers team. Man, this is a tough one for me because I can go either way here. I think I'm going to take the underdog here. I'm going to buy a point, get the Colts plus 3.5. It's just going to be another tough game. Carson Wentz has played good. Jonathan Taylor's just played lights out football. No, going to be another tight one. Going to be a real test for Tampa Bay too. Big test against a good Colts team. We'll take the Colts plus 3.5. Next matchup, we have the Tennessee Titans versus the New England Patriots. Patriots opening up as 7-point favorites with the over-under at 43.5. The last 10 head-to-head, the Patriots 7-3, 6-4 covering in those matchups. The over-under in this series is 5-5. Tennessee coming off that 22-13 loss against the Texans. New England coming off a 25-0 win over the Falcons on a 5-game winning streak. I mean, playing probably the best football in the league. Titans, man, they've just, without Henry, man, and no A.J. Brown, the offense just does not look good. No Julio. This offense is depleted. Patriots 5-0 covering in their last 5 and during this win streak, 6-1 in their last 7 against Tennessee at home. I like the Patriots. This offense is just good. Been great. Defense has been lights out. Coming against the Tennessee team that's missing a lot of pieces here. Taking the 0.5 point, get New England minus 6.5, rolling with the Patriots. Next matchup, we have the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Denver Broncos. Chargers opening up as 2.5-point favorites with the over-under at 47. The last 10 head-to-head, Denver 6-4, 5-4-1 covering in those matchups. The over-under in this series is 4-6. Chargers coming off a 41-37 win over Pittsburgh. Denver coming off a 30-13 loss against Philly. Chargers, they've struggled against Denver, just 5-15 against Denver, 2-4 covering against Denver here. Denver 2-5 in their last 7, 2-5 covering in their last 7. I like the Chargers here. I mean, last game, they really stepped it up in their last game. They played really great in a thriller. The offense clicked. 2-1 in their last 3. Denver had that bad loss last week. I like Chargers to carry this momentum into this matchup, but huge matchup against Denver here. I'm rolling with the Chargers. Next matchup, we have the Los Angeles Rams versus the Green Bay Packers. Rams opening up as 2-point favorites with the over-under at 47. The last 10 head-to-head, Green Bay 7-3, 8-2 covering in those matchups. The over-under in this series is 5-4-1. The Rams on a bad 2-game losing streak. I mean, they've only scored 16 and 10 points in those matchups. Packers coming off a 34-31 loss against Minnesota. The Rams 0-7 covering against the Packers, 1-6 in their last 7 against Green Bay. Green Bay 9-1 covering in their last 10. Rodgers is probable, which is good. They definitely need him. No Bakhtiari. That's definitely going to hurt their offensive line here. A tough matchup here, but another thriller here. I'm buying a 1.5. This is a point buying kind of day. I just see a field goal kind of game in a lot of these games. We're taking the Packers plus 3.5. I mean, they've been the better team so far this season, believe it or not. Rams, they've been struggling. This little 2-game stretch they're on, I don't know what's going on, but they're having trouble scoring. I don't really get it. But as long as Aaron Rodgers doesn't play totally hurt, I mean, it's going to be tough. This Rams defense just has not been on the defense we've come to see, especially over these last few weeks. I mean, you can score on the Rams. That's kind of given right now. We'll take Green Bay plus 3.5. Next matchup, we have the Minnesota Vikings versus the San Francisco 49ers. Niners opening up as 3-point favorites with the over-under at 49. The last 10 head-to-head, Minnesota 6-4, 5-5 covering in those matchups. The over-under in this series is just 3-7. Minnesota 5-5 in their last 10. The Niners on a 2-game winning streak right now, coming off a 30-10 win over the Jaguars. Minnesota, they've struggled against San Francisco, 1-10 on the road against the Niners. San Francisco 1-8 at home. Man, I another underdog play here. I like Minnesota plus 3.5. Going to buy that half a point. Get them plus 3.5. Coming off that huge win over Green Bay on a 2-game winning streak. Both teams on 2-game winning streaks here. Going to be another battle. We'll take Minnesota plus 3.5. Next matchup, we have the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens opening up as 3.5-point favorites with the over-under at 47. The last 10 head-to-head, Baltimore 8-2, 7-3 covering in those matchups. The over-under in this series is just 4-6. Cleveland coming off a 13-10 win over Detroit. Baltimore coming off a 16-13 win over Chicago. I mean, I do see that Lamar Jackson should be good to go. He was just sick. He was sick last week. Cleveland 2-9 against Baltimore, 2-11 on the road against Baltimore. Cleveland, they've had trouble scoring these last 2 weeks. 13 points, 7 points. They've struggled. Baker's playing hurt, which you can tell he just does not look good on the field. Baltimore 7-1 at home, 11-2 at home against Cleveland. I like the Ravens here. I'm going to buy a point. Get them minus 2.5. Going to be another tight one. There's no real big favorites on this slate. It's going to be a lot of tight-knit football. I just like the Baltimore offense a little bit more than Cleveland. Cleveland, a lot of injuries. I'm going to roll with the Ravens here. Then the last matchup, we have Seattle versus Washington. Washington opening up as 1-point favorites with the over-under at 46.5. The last 10 head-to-head, both teams 5-5. Washington 5-4-1 covering in those matchups. The over-under in this series is 4-6. Seattle on a 2-game losing streak. They've struggled, just 13 points total in their last 2 games. Washington on a 2-game winning streak, coming off a Tampa Bay win and a Carolina win. They've looked pretty solid here these last 2 weeks. Even with Russ back, man, Seattle, they just don't look good on offense. Russ just doesn't look good. The offense doesn't look good. Washington, probably, playing their best football this season, coming off 2 major wins here. Only a 1-point spread. We'll take Washington on the money line. Defense playing better, offense playing better. Gonna roll with Washington. And that's gonna be it for the video. Good luck with your picks and parlays on Sunday. And I'll see you guys Monday. Have a good one.